Their faces wallpaper Tahrir Square, ensuring people won't forget. These are the martyrs of the Egyptian revolution. Amidst the din of debate and Cairo traffic, their tributes attract an ongoing audience. But for those who have disappeared since the revolution began, there are no banners flapping in the wind. There is, however, 45-year-old Sayeed. When his 18-year-old son disappeared on January 28th, he became a walking, talking billboard for the missing.
I think he's dead. But I want his body.
That Friday protest was dubbed the Day of Anger. Sayeed says his son Ahram went to Tahrir Square. It was a bloody day. Police fired live and rubber bullets on protesters beneath a blanket of tear gas. By nightfall, with no word from Ahram, the frantic father finally made his way into the chaos of Tahrir. He says he immediately began pitching in.
We started to transport the dead bodies to the mosque. We spent the whole day taking the dead and injured people.
Sayeed says he scanned the faces of the dead to ensure Ahram wasn't among them. He repeated that horrific process in the days that followed, visiting morgues. As the fight over the future of Egypt raged on in the streets, Sayeed was going to the police, to jails, hospitals, and various ministries, hunting in vain for answers about his son's disappearance.
I say to the government, Allah is watching you, so tell us where our children are. Even in war, we get informed that the missing were injured, kidnapped, or killed. This is a revolution, for God's sake.
Sayeed's search for his son consumed him. The single father quit his job as a driver and left his other two kids at home. For months, he says, he held a solitary vigil in Tahrir. He hoped sharing his story would ultimately lead him to his son.
He wasn't just a son. He was raising his brother and sister with me. He was a partner more than a son. I am living for you. I have no target but to find you. I hope I can see you in the end.
He reserved only the slightest hope in his heart that Ahram might be in prison. Then came a phone call that every parent with a missing child prays for.
I am not believe to now you life, his life.
Ahram had been in a prison notorious for political prisoners. For reasons he can't explain, he says in late July, he and a number of inmates were released. The story he tells is a harrowing one. He says he was warned if he talked, he'd be killed, so we're concealing his identity. Ahram says he was arrested in Tahrir and initially taken to the Ministry of the Interior. He claims there, guards burned him and other protesters with an iron and shocked their genitals with electricity from a specially made machine.
We were almost naked. They kept torturing us by giving us electrical shocks on our bodies and kept asking, why are you protesting? Who are you with? And who gave you the money? They wanted us to confess to something we didn't do.
Then, Ahram says he and other inmates were transferred to Wadi al-Natrom prison north of Cairo. It's unclear which branch of security was involved because after Mubarak resigned, the Ministry of Interior essentially stopped functioning. Ahram says he doesn't know, but for months he lived in terror. He says in between the torture and sexual harassment from guards, they were subjected to manual labor.
It was horrible. I have never been in prison. We were forced to cut rocks in the desert. They were hitting us and abusing us.
After 6 months of enduring the misery of imprisonment, Ahram says he and a truck full of inmates were released without warning.
I want to reveal the truth about how these people treated us. I have never seen such things in the movies. Damn them.
We can't corroborate Ahram's allegations, but human rights experts we spoke with say the torture and imprisonment he describes are trademarks of the Mubarak regime. Volunteers compiled this list of 50 missing people, primarily men. It's not definitive. Some organizations speculate the number could be as high as 1,000, and experts warn families who have lost faith in a corrupt system may not be reporting their loved ones missing. Tahrir Abu al-Nasser, with the Front for the Defense of Egyptian Protesters, says in June, 19 bodies, some wearing prison uniforms, were buried without being identified.
The people in power say we got rid of the head of the old regime and should be happy. But now we need to get rid of the body. We want a system which respects the law and not one where the law serves the government. I want to see justice. I want to see the Egyptian man's dignity.
This family's poignant reunion offers reminders at once hopeful and harsh. Don't forget the missing And Egypt's climb out of the abyss of injustice will be slow and at times painful.